Thought I'd do something on Bitcoins. A whole lot of bullshit's being thrown around back and forth. The bullshit's being thrown around by people who don't have a clue about Bitcoin, but they know because, well, they've seen it on TV and they've read articles. The only people who don't know anything about Bitcoin, ironically, are, of course, are Americans. The rest of the world has moved onto Bitcoin at an astounding rate. There's a finite amount of Bitcoins created. There will never be any more than 21 million Bitcoin. So when you hear these economists talk about Bitcoin, keep in mind these economists are trained to protect and keep in place the privately owned U.S. economy. The U.S. economy is privately owned and controlled by the Federal Reserve. The U.S. government doesn't have much say over the U.S. economy. The Federal Reserve does. Every economist that talks about Bitcoin is going to say anything to make Bitcoin look bad to protect the Federal Reserve's death grip on Americans. When you use a debit card or a bank card, when you write a check, what you're doing is you're saying, please, Mr. Banker, I beg you, please allow me to make this purchase. With Bitcoin, you're saying, I'm buying this. You're not asking permission. You have your own wallet, you have your own Bitcoin, that's your money, you make the purchase. You don't get permission, it's done anonymously, you don't get permission, it's nobody's business. When you do any transaction using US dollars or anything else, using the EU or the Euro, every bit of that transaction is tracked and recorded. With Bitcoin, none of that happens. It's totally anonymous. Right now, it's estimated over 4 million Bitcoin are lost forever. These are Bitcoins that were mined improperly, lost. One guy was mining Bitcoin when it first came out, and his girlfriend didn't like the noise that the computer was making, and so he stopped. The computer failed. He took the hard drive out of the computer and got rid of it. If I remember correctly, she threw the hard drive away. That hard drive is worth over $100 million today. And he's got contractors digging through the landfill to find that hard drive. Now, anybody with any common sense knows the contractors will dig through the landfill on credit. I mean, if it costs $1 million, so what? The hard drive is worth over $100 million. Bitcoin is bigger than the economies of Algeria, Iraq, New Zealand, Romania. Bitcoin is almost as big as the economies of Peru, Czech Republic, Greece, Vietnam. That's just starting. The rest of the world has jumped on Bitcoin because of the access and the ease of use. Bitcoin is valued more than Goldman Sachs and UBS combined. Bitcoin is bigger than Pepsi, bigger than Boeing, bigger than McDonald's. Bitcoin is bigger than Bill Gates and Warren Buffett combined. Now, Bitcoin has got the central bankers and their employees, the governments, scared. And the reason is money is how they have enslaved and controlled the people. Now, when they talk cryptocurrency and digital currency, of course everybody's smart, they know everything. The Federal Reserve has been forcing digital currency on Americans for almost 20 years now. And Americans know this and they use it, but, oh, Bitcoin, that's digital currency, you can't trust it. Well, you're using digital currency every day. There's no difference. The difference between the digital currency that you're forced to use in America is that the Federal Reserve creates it with a keystroke, forces you to borrow it at face value, and makes you pay interest on it. And the only work they put into it is a keystroke. And if you don't make your payments, whatever work you did, they'll take that property over a keystroke. With Bitcoin, no worries. There have been homes, cars sold for Bitcoin. There's an ad right now for an apartment. It's a quite expensive apartment. They accept Bitcoin only. The Winklevoss twins, who actually created Facebook that Zuckerberg stole from them, are the first billionaires from Bitcoin. Now, people who whine and cry and complain of Bitcoin's bad and it wastes electricity and it's going to destroy the earth, well, that's just retarded. Those are talking points. The people who mine Bitcoin, the mining is actually conducting the mathematical calculations for people who are doing transactions for Bitcoin, not bankers. So they're providing a service. We're providing a service for each other. And for that service, yes, we collect a little fee, a little teeny tiny fee. And that's how the mining of Bitcoins creates more Bitcoins. There will only be 21 million created. After that, then Bitcoins will just be traded back and forth. So when someone says, oh, Bitcoin is just a bubble, understand that that's someone who is stupid. That's someone who is repeating double speak from a Federal Reserve economist who's terrified of losing their job and their career. There's only so many Bitcoin out there. The more people who get involved with Bitcoin, the higher the value is going to be. It's like if there's only so many Mercedes-Benz produced and that's it, the more of those Mercedes-Benz are purchased, the fewer that are left, the higher the price is going to get. That's not a bubble. That's a fact of life. Now, instead of people, what gets me is how Americans are famous for this. They like to attach labels to themselves. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. Pretend with me that I'm this. You got to pretend with me. That's child's game. Get real. Get over yourself. Start digging and start looking. Max Kaiser is one that told us about Bitcoin a long time ago. He said, look, this is it. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. If you're not getting into Bitcoin, if you're not investing into it, that's your prerogative. But Bitcoin's not going anywhere. And Bitcoin is such a threat to the central bankers who have a death grip on the world that the governments are getting in line. And what are we going to do about this? They're taking our control. China's trying to block it because the governments are owned by the bankers. If you know anything about bankruptcy, when a company goes bankrupt and they go to the court, the power of the company is turned over to the creditors. So the creditors start making all the shots and calling in all authority. Well, that's what was done to the U.S. FDR declared the U.S. bankrupt. Just did. Okay, we're bankrupt. And the Crown bankers said, okay, now we decide. America doesn't know this. This is what's going on. This is why why is Congress doing this? That's stupid. Congress is not stupid. They do what they're told. And if you get into how much money they make, how did Harry Greed become a billionaire on a senator's salary? Well, he became a billionaire by looking stupid. So what? Pay attention, people. So look, when people mine Bitcoin, there's a lot of them that are whining like little imbeciles. Well, they're wasting energy and they're destroying the earth. No, they're providing a service. And if I had the money, I would be buying the computers and equipment to mine Bitcoin myself. Because the price is only going to go up. Once all the Bitcoin have been mined, then the price is going to flatten out. But this is how the last thing TV and all these so-called experts are going to tell you is the truth, because their careers depend on it. Their careers depend on Americans being stupid. Their careers depend on Americans believing every lie they tell you. And here's a fact to consider. When's the last time they told you the truth? Never. They've never told you the truth. So Bitcoin is something very serious to look into. It's not going anywhere. The rest of the world, Europe, Asia, they're so far ahead in using Bitcoin, it's unreal. And it's here. And the one country that's still got a donkey and a cart when it comes to Bitcoin is America. So let's get with the program.